Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. It is Monday the 3rd of January today. Christmas is already far behind us. We're already in 2022. I think I already said it's episode 352. Can't remember. And this is Rob. How you doing, Rob?
Hello, mate. What a start to 2022. I've got COVID. Or at least I've got the tail end of COVID. I think I was very lucky I'm not lucky, that's probably the wrong word, but I think I've had the Omicron variant, which is one of my favourite avant-garde albums. I haven't been luckily too ill, thankfully. I've had cold-like symptoms, but I think we're coming out of it. Although I think Sarah's is slightly more delayed. I think she was asymptomatic when I tested positive, so we both have it. Lyra, I think, is okay at the moment, so hopefully she won't catch anything else. But it's been interesting.
I was about to ask you that. How is it that baby Lyra hasn't contracted this?
I don't quite know, to be honest. She's definitely been, I think, slightly under the weather, but she's been coughing maybe slightly more, but compared to when she had the illness just before Christmas, she was nowhere near as bad as she was, and she's been sleeping, she's still eating. I don't know is the honest answer. I'm not entirely sure where we've caught it from. And we've both had our boosters, I think, as I mentioned in the last episode. So I really don't know is the honest answer.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, if there is a time to catch COVID, it's when you're a baby, because you would think this would set her up with some damn good immunity growing up. She'll be COVID resilient.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, she's had so many different jabs over the last 6 months, and maybe one of those has tackled it as well. I don't know. But Alex, I haven't even asked you, how was your Christmas? How was your festive period?
Yeah, it was all right. It is what it is, mate.
Great, let's move on.
I'm still off work currently. I'm still recovering with my eye thing. Rob is going to continue. Anybody cares? I think a few episodes ago I said I've been having a problem with my vision, but Rob is continuing to read out the episodes, and I must say, Rob, as I am the editor in chief of our episodes, you've done such a sterling job carrying this part for us, Rob. I feel.
Oh, thank you, Alex. I was kind of waiting for a sarcastic comment, but that seems to be
that's genuine. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, well, that's appreciated. Thank you. That means a lot. Just one piece of news, just an update from Claire. I think we mentioned in the last episode that she was working her way through the back catalogue.
Yes.
We were debating whether she was going forwards or backwards, and she has now confirmed.
Okay, can I guess?
Backwards.
Oh,
sorry.
I guess she's going backwards.
And you'll be right saying that. Yeah, she's going
to experience the very slow degradation, not in comedy quality. If anything, that's diminished the other way around. No, only kidding. But the audio quality will diminish until it eventually feels like you're sitting in a room with two people recording on a very small mic, which is basically what we were doing, wasn't it, Rob? Remember that we bought a little portable mic.
Oh God, yes! I forgot all about
Samsung.
That. You're absolutely right.
Not Samsung, but Samson. Samson, and it literally clipped to the top of the laptop, didn't it, Rob? And we'd sit there together, huddled next to each other on a table, which of course wouldn't be advisable to do anymore. Now we're in this post-COVID world, or well, not post, but COVID landscape. Seems like a long time ago now, Rob.
It really does seem like a long time ago. All very, very bizarre. So she just goes on to clarify. So she's now on episode 62. And since the summer, she says, I have listened to 289 LAPodcast, 26 episodes of Daft Talk, and all the Patreons. That is some serious dedication. Claire, you're absolutely right, and we thank you for it.
Yeah, we do. We thank you for being a Patreon member. If, like Claire, you want to hear our additional episodes, the episodes that cannot be found anywhere else, yes, you have to pay for them. It's £2 a month. They are on Patreon, patreon.com/LAPodcast extra, and they're fantastic. And thank you, Claire. I mean, so look, I don't have to worry, Robert, she's already on episode 62. She's already experiencing that slow degradation. And presumably as well, it's a bit like, for her, it's a bit like the curious case of Benjamin Button, isn't it? She's experiencing us de-aging. Yeah. We are being de-aged as she listens to it. I don't know if you can hear it in our voice, but I think there was Were we less cynical back then, Rob? I don't know. Maybe we weren't.
I think we would have been, Alex, because I'm thinking so episode 62, I imagine, will be 2013, possibly
Rob.
2014.
Don't do this to us, mate.
They were just happier times, Alex. You know, we're still in the memory of London 2012. It was a jubilant time, and so much has happened since then.
Yeah. What happened in London 20? Was that the Olympics?
Yeah, of course it was the Olympics, Alex. The city was alive.
Was it? Yeah.
Unlike now when it's completely empty.
Well, look, so this is our first episode of 2022. Of course, there will be a Patreon episode next week for our Patreon members. So get on over there if you want to hear that. But Rob, you are going to be giving us some stories to set off 2022 with a bang. What you got?
Well, I'm going to just start off by saying there were some leftover stories from Christmas, so that's how we're going to focus this episode.
So this is basically like eating your leftover Christmas dinner, although way out of any time now that I would suggest would be a good time to be eating it. You know, it will make you ill.
Yeah. You need to put that in the bin. I realised that there are only so many different variants of turkey. You know, turkey sandwiches.
That's interesting. Do you eat? I don't know anybody that has turkey for Christmas anymore. Do you? Like everybody I know, my family, other families have shunned turkey for many years. So we had a chicken roast, Rob, not turkey.
Well, we had turkey. Yeah. It was very nice too. It was cooked by Sarah's mum, and it was lovely. It does feel like something that we could just do away with, because turkey just feel. And let's face it, turkey is the cheap relative to chicken.
Did it have the Bernard Matthews seal of approval?
I've no idea. I have no idea. I don't know whether it came from his Norfolk establishment.
Because Rob, you back in the days, of course, when he was around, the seal of approval was if you bought the turkey and it still had the bruises on it from the bare knuckle barn fight that obviously he'd have with each turkey. And I do retract that, because that is insinuating that physical abuse of turkeys was going on. I heard that it was a fair fight, Rob. You know, they gave as good as they got. Bernard wouldn't always win, Rob. You know, that's the important thing.
No, I've heard that. But also, I did. He had a bit of a nasty streak. So I think if you complained about the bruise on the turkey, he would go around and confront you on your doorstep.
Well, it's that kind of face-to-face service, Rob, that you don't get anymore in this COVID world, of course. You know, but
no, it's true, Alex. And I think it's, you know, I can understand why people mourn for the days of the 60s and 70s. And, you know, thank God for Brexit, because, you know, we can go back to the days when you know, local produce manufacturers could just turn up on your doorstep and just threaten you.
Yeah, mass unemployment as well.
Mass unemployment, devaluation of the pound, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We'll all be driving those old Vauxhall Labradors, Rob. Now,
absolutely.
Okay, what have you got for us story-wise then? Give us some leftovers.
Okay, so this is from the Manchester Evening News. It is from the 21st of December. It's by Emma Gill, who apparently is the parents editor.
Parents editor?
Parents editor, yes.
What's that? Is that like
I don't know how she edits parents. I'm assuming she has a focus on children-related stories. You know.
We've had stories from Emma Gill before, and she had a different title. I think many of these people at Papers have numerous titles to fit whatever story they're writing. So if they suddenly have to write a story about a combine harvester, it'll be farmyard correspondent, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you ever saw their business card, Alex, it has to be double-sided just to fit everything on there. So, headline: Furious families slam shit show winter funland, saying kids had more fun sat in the car. Now,
we've had stories like this in the past, Rob. Do you remember when we had those stories about the terrible winter wonderlands? Okay, all right.
Okay, so parents are demanding their money back from a Christmas event they say is nothing like it was promised. And Alex, it's always the same thing.
Was this at Pontins?
So families who... No, it wasn't. No. This was in Manchester. Families who bought tickets for the Winter Funland at the Trafford's BEC Arena, otherwise known as the Bowls Exhibition Centre, says they feel scammed after being promised a winter wonderland with fabulous indoor fun fair with the very best rides from across the UK.
Can I just stop you a second, Rob? Obviously, remembering it was based in Manchester, this story. Was there a very, very drunk, sweary Santa on display? Was that one of the things that occurred?
No, there's no mention that the Santa was drunk, to be fair.
Elves buggering the reindeers, that kind of thing?
I think reindeers will be pushing it in this particular event. No.
Were the reindeers dogs with antlers strapped to their heads?
That's more what we're going for here. Yeah, definitely. So, but rather than having something for the whole family at the festive extravaganza, parents say most of the rides were for children under 6, and one of them, and one of the only things the older children got to go on were the trampolines, at a price of a cost of £5 each, when they told that all rides had been included in the ticket price.
Right, so you get there expecting to be able to go on any of the rides, and then you get told if you want to bounce on a trampoline, it's £5.
Yes,
that's taking the piss, isn't it, Rob?
It is. I think if all the rides are for, well, let's face it, if they're under 6, it really limits who. I mean, I don't know, Alex. When you go to this kind of thing, I think you probably are going for younger children, but maybe I'm wrong. But but they're saying that if you think of actually Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park, it is. It has a good variety of rides. Anyway, look.
Can I just ask you, Rob, on that? There's a couple of things. We had, for a time, a trampoline. It wasn't a massive one or anything like that in our garden. So we could trampoline out there. And I also attended, for a time, Trampoline Club, Rob, at Crystal Palace Sports Centre. Now, I remember you telling me once that in your childhood, I remember you saying that it was like sort of 4 logs out in the garden, sort of standing vertically, sort of short, stubby logs, and stretching, I think you said, a burst balloon over them to make a very little trampoline that you jump up and down on. But I think you said it broke because, of the... It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't actually recall telling you this story, but maybe
somebody else told me
an earlier podcast.
Yeah. But did you enjoy that experience? I don't know if you call it trampolining. You could probably call it tramping. But did you enjoy it?
Well, Alex, this is where you openly mock me. But I mean, first of all, who uses a balloon stretch across
condom then
poles? Everyone knows. Everyone knows, you use some of those leads. Those elasticated leads you use to tie luggage to the top of cars.
You don't need a lot of those.
Use.
Right, okay.
Well, Alex, if you go down to local Poundland, you can really get, you can get a couple of those for £10, and some tarpaulin. And after the trampoline broke, we then started parkour.
Yeah.
So, nothing went to waste, Alex. That's the moral of this story.
Yeah, it's a good one. Rather like this episode with the leftovers.
Yeah. One mum said she saw parts missing on some of the rides. The Ferris wheel stopped working when her children were inside it.
What?
And they were left strapped in a roller coaster for 10 minutes whilst the operator went to get a drink.
Sorry, who says, right, in the middle of a roller coaster, you just stop the car, I need a drink, I'm thirsty. I went, what's it called? On the banks of the Thames, I think it's right near the London Eye, there's that, it's called like a solar sailor or something like that. It's that giant long pole, and it's got those kind of...
The thing that swings?
Yeah, it's got those kind of benches attached to wires hanging from it, and you sit on the bench, and they turn round and round, and you get sent higher and higher up into the air until you're right at the top of this pole, and it's absolutely terrifying. But it also seems like it's very poorly made. I remember having a conversation with the people who are operating it. The guy was taking the ticket money, and I said to him, look, is this thing safe? Because it just looks like a lot of benches hanging by some very thin wire off a pole.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and just sort of smiled. Didn't really say anything else. And the next moment I remember being strapped in. And the only way I made it through that experience was, whilst being hurtled around, I just pretended it was a video game. And that was the only way I managed to maybe not have some kind of breakdown. I found it quite terrifying as I was being sent up there. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I've also been on, they're known as chair swings.
That's it. And
they have the little like metal bar that literally you think, I'm pretty sure with enough strength, I could probably bend this myself. They are actually a Victorian invention, and somehow they've managed to persist into the present day. It's amazing, really.
Immediately after the ride, I went online and literally immediately after, got out my phone and did some research and found a story about the exact same ride in Scotland, where one of the wires had snapped and a woman had been left hanging from the bench in the top of the air, and it was closed down. So probably better I didn't read that before I went on the ride. But
yeah. Horrific. Absolutely. But by the way, I don't think it's, well, last time I went there, I think it has moved on. Maybe because, it's burnt down or caught fire or something.
Well, it's not there anymore. Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think so. No, last time I was there, I don't remember seeing it.
Okay. That's worrying.
Yeah, maybe it was stolen. So bosses of Winter Wonderland, however, say all the rides of the highest standard with rigorous checks by health and safety officials, and that at no time has a ride been left without an operator during a live session. So just going back to your previous point, Alex, he didn't stop the ride. He just started the ride and just walked off. So the parents have been complaining on Facebook, and they say their complaints have been ignored by the organisers and claim comments giving negative feedback on the event have been deleted from the official Winter Wonderland Facebook to avoid potential customers seeing them. But Winter Wonderland responded saying the social media team periodically turn comments off when they feel they're being unfairly trolled by a very, very small minority of people that have a grievance.
Right, hang on a minute. Unfairly trolled by a very small minority of people who have a grievance. That's an episode title, isn't it? Come on, let's be honest. Rob, can I just say, is one of the other things the organisers of this circus, come fairground, whatever it is, do they send a Bernard Matthews impersonator to your home to threaten you?
So we don't know. That may be on the cards. So just to give some context, so Anna Frey took her children, 7-year-old Oscar McGovern and 3-year-old Caitlin Ridgely. I don't know why all the children have different names. Along at the weekend, they said it was a huge disappointment with them missing an hour and 40 minutes of their session because of problems with the parking and cloakroom queues. She said, "Where do I even start? What an absolute shit show it was. The whole event from start to finish was a joke. I'm so annoyed. The Ferris wheel stopped my children on it. The man running it didn't seem to know how it worked. Some of the rides were visibly missing parts. Cars had wheels missing." I mean, this sounds horrific. My children got on a small roller coaster. The man didn't set it off after he strapped them in. He walked off to go and get a drink, leave them strapped in for the ride for close to 10 minutes. On another ride, the jumping jack, my children were on it, and the man set the ride off. One of the other children, set the ride off and left. One of the other children on the ride was upset, crying to get off, but the man operating it was nowhere to be found. The circus was shocking. I've seen better street acts. They had no microphone, and we couldn't hear a thing they were saying. There's also apparently a carnival game that was leaking all over the floor. And the obligatory Santa apparently was walking around the fairground without his beard.
Sorry, the one thing you need is the hat and the beard are kind of very important.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we want to give Winter Funland the right to reply. So event director Glenn Ramsden said the Winter Funland is taking place at the BEC Arena rather than the event city where it's previously held. Due to the location change in a smaller venue, we've had to reduce the scale of Winter Funland. This is clearly explained on our website, and we've made it clear that there is no Santa's Grotto or ice rink this year. The price was reduced by £20 a family to reflect this.
Okay, Rob, you got another story for us. Some more leftovers. I'm getting full.
Some more leftovers, and we are sticking with the Manchester Evening News. So this is from the 27th of December, so after Christmas, and it's very fitting that it's after Christmas. The story is by Sophie Hale Richards and Josie LeVay, apparently. So again, two reporters involved in this story because it was that important. And the headline: the clue is in the name. Readers react after dad slams Indian restaurant over traditional Christmas Day menu.
So this is another story about Christmas disappointment, basically. I'm spotting a theme here, Rob.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. So, readers of the Manchester Evening News have reacted after a dad slammed an Indian restaurant over their Christmas Day menu. Rick Arpino maybe, claimed that his children's Christmas Day dinner at the Raposhi Indian Bar and Restaurant in Bury was ruined after they were served chicken and chips.
I would have been happy with that. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
What the fuck? If I want a traditional Christmas dinner, why am I going to an Indian restaurant? I don't understand. Why would I be expecting this? It's like me going to a Chinese restaurant saying, "Oh my God, that I'm really disappointed that I wasn't given turkey and roast potatoes. What is wrong with this person?"
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, I was in Bury on Christmas Day. Obviously, we sat down for a traditional turkey dinner. But I don't know. I imagine that an Indian restaurant isn't the first place I'd turn for a traditional meal. Surely there must have been pubs open or hotels or somewhere serving that kind of thing. The only thing I can think was he went there because it was cheap.
Yep.
So he wrote, according to TripAdvisor, "What an absolute farce of a restaurant. Xmas dinner ruined for our children on the whim of this establishment." The Raposhi Indian restaurant claims to have run out customers in advance of Christmas Day to take their orders and explained that they weren't serving the previously advertised Christmas menu due to lack of interest.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Hundreds of people have since voiced their opinion on the situation, with many saying the family shouldn't have gone to an Indian restaurant if they wanted a traditional Christmas dinner. I mean, talk about stating the bleeding obvious.
Yes, and a sad indictment of the general intelligence of the British public.
Yeah. So Angela Williams-Aaron commented on Facebook saying, "If you wanted a Christmas dinner, why did you go to an Indian restaurant? The clue is in the name, Indian." I'm not sure it needs to add the second Indian in there, but that's okay. Stay at home with your kids at Christmas. They can play with their toys, make a nice meal, and have some family time at home.
Well, exactly. And also, chicken and chips, nice. Can't ever go wrong with that, Rob.
Well, I mean, also, he doesn't say he doesn't actually say whether the chicken chips were any good.
No.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with chicken chips, really.
No, you can't. Exactly.
It's just very dry. That's the problem with chicken chips. Never been a massive fan, personally. Apart from KFC.
No, I like when I remember, Rob, when I was young, going to a Spanish island called Menorca, which was like a bit like the cousin to Mallorca, with my parents. And I remember eating chicken in a basket and chips every night and enjoying it very much. Really?
Okay. Thank you for elaborating where Menorca was. That's, for those who didn't know, I appreciate that.
I didn't. Some people might not. Some people haven't heard of it,
No, fair enough.
But it's real. Rob, it's real. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I went there.
I'm glad to hear it, Alex. I really am. So Julie Coop said, "I'd have loved to go for a curry on Christmas Day for dinner, to be honest."
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what? There is part of me, I actually quite like the idea of going for an Indian on Christmas Day. If you're, just one of those years where you just don't want, you don't want to have to cook, but you don't fancy the traditional, an Indian sounds like a good way out.
Tell you something, Rob. The day before yesterday, had an Indian takeout. Leftovers are waiting tonight.
With the turkey or
with the chicken and chips?
Also, why is turkey not used? I mean, it is just Christmas. I know you can buy turkey mince.
So what happens to turkeys for the rest of the year then? This is what I'm confused about. Are they all just like, shut up, put in a barn and like, stop gobbling? No, because we do. There are things. I feel sorry for turkey.
I mean, you can get. I mean, I know you can get turkey mince, but who is buying turkey mince? Seriously,
turkey burgers. I used to eat a lot of turkey burgers as a young teenager. Turkey burger was nice.
I mean, I know. I think Jamie Oliver has a lot to answer for.
Well, Jamie Oliver has a lot to answer for. Full stop. I would agree with you, but can you just explain on this matter?
Well, Alex, his big campaign a few years back, where obviously he campaigned to have turkey Twizzlers, but banned from schools, which I think
outrageous.
Which I think may have actually led to Bernard Matthews' death. Yeah, but he was really personally offended.
Rob, did you know, right, that Jamie Oliver? I mean, this is sort of like what's that word called when it's like what's that word, like it's an unspoken secret, everybody knows about it, right? Really, in the industry, what's the phrase called? An unspoken secret, something like that. I can't remember.
But it's not clandestine, is it? No. Carry on.
Jamie Oliver is the illegitimate bastard son of Bernard Matthews, but nobody ever wants to talk about that. I mean, obviously, I think for him it's a great source of shame. So, yeah, that's what I heard. It might not be right, and I want to just say legally, it was just a rumor, and I assume it's wrong. But
so you're maintaining that his campaign to ban turkey Twizzlers because of their low nutritional value from schools was purely a personal vendetta to get back at his bastard father
for not including him for the inheritance for the vast Bernard Matthews empire. Do you think, Rob, if the people from Bernard Matthews ever listen to this podcast, we'd get a knock on the door from a Bernard Matthews impersonator?
I'd hope they might consider sponsoring us, to be honest. But it doesn't make any sense, Alex, because all Jamie's Italians have closed down. So you would have thought he would want to tap into the Matthews empire. It's very baffling.
Why don't I like Jamie Oliver, Rob?
I think he's quite a difficult character. I think whenever I've watched him, I don't often. I'm not one of these big people. I don't watch a lot of cookery shows.
No, nor do I.
I'm sure that won't come as a surprise. But I don't know. Whenever he just feels very disingenuous.
Yes,
and I don't think he is.
No,
but he just seems like a twat. I'm going to say it. He just sounds like a bit of a dick.
Are we saying he has a bit of the James Corden effect on people? I'm sure James Corden is lovely, but I just want to punch him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's what it is. I mean, I don't know if we've ever spoken about that. I mean, I have a personal. I don't want to say hate. I don't want to say I hate anyone, but I despise James Corden because I just do not think he has any talent, and I cannot comprehend how he is so famous. I mean,
he was meant to have been very good on stage, though. Corden, wasn't he?
Well, apparently he was very. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right, and I mean, but I've also heard that apparently behind the scenes he was an absolute cunt. Apparently he's horrendous to staff, and that that could be litigious, but this is what I've heard. Come
How much of this am I going to have to cut out, Rob? Like, seriously, it just feels like this edit is going to be really difficult. Do I just take all of this out?
No, leave it in, Alex. I mean, they're not going to listen, and if they do, then we'll retract it.
We have to take the episode down. We'll take the episode down. Fine.
Yeah, and also, we can use. To be honest, I would appreciate the publicity. So just to recap, Jamie Oliver's the son of Bernard Matthews. And James Corden has some talent on the theatre, but apparently to backstage crew is an arsehole.
But it's also the way that him and Matthew Horn with this double act, but it felt like Horn just got shoved apart. It would be like Rob if I suddenly got a big break and just discarded you. It wouldn't be very nice, would it, Rob? Or vice versa.
I feel you fair. Are you trying to tell me something, Alex?
No. I'm just saying okay. I would like to feel like I would like to feel, Rob, that you'd be included and could get that trampoline. Finally get that.
So like a lot like Eminem and D12. Once Eminem had made his fortune, he released obviously the D12 album. I mean, granted, it came out to very bad reviews and didn't go anywhere, but at least he made good on his promise. Yeah, exactly. I do like to shoehorn references to D12 in wherever I can.
I think it's the first time you've done it, but I appreciate it. Rob, I feel like we're losing focus. Is this the end of this story?
Yeah, I mean, the gist of it is people were obviously taking the piss out of this guy for ordering, for going to an Indian for going to an Indian for a traditional Christmas dinner. Some people were criticising him. Some people were criticising the Indian restaurant because they didn't advertise what they'd initially or promise what they initially advertised, despite obviously they had been contacting customers to say that they weren't able to do that due to lack of interest, etc., etc.
And now this. Local Anesthetic Podcast is now on Patreon, so sign up now to receive exclusive LA Podcast and extra jab bonus episodes to your inbox every month. These can't be found anywhere else, and if you want to hear them, go to patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra. More stories about stupid people doing stupid things. Teacher rushed to hospital after shoving USB cable in his penis.
No, fuck off, he didn't.
He inserted the cable to measure the length of his penis out of sexual curiosity.
What pleasure could you possibly derive from this? I mean, apart from trying it this evening.
More stupid people doing more stupid things. Parents ordered to pay 43-year-old son after getting rid of his pornography collection.
I just feel bad for the parents because it seems like the one thing their son has managed to get right is the fact that he has a vintage pornography collection. That's the only thing going on in his life.
Well, inside the boxes were films such as Lesbians in Tight Shorts, University Co-ed 25, and 1001 Erotic Nights.
What can I see? What I'd like to know is, what was it? It was a University Co-ed 25. Did he have the whole University Co-ed series?
And of course, the strangest news stories you've ever heard.
Man left baffled after finding whole potato in his bag of kettle chips.
What?
Dr. Boyce, 38, was watching the deers rut in Leicestershire when he felt peckish and opened a bag of crisps.
What a strange... Was he having a wank? Was he? What a strange... So what a strange thing to include in the story. So the journalist went over there. They're like, tell us what happened. He goes, well, I was watching some deers have sex out of my window. Okay, well, having finished those delicious leftovers, Rob, we now turn to the matter of dessert, which in this case will be our listener story of the week. And obviously, I will play a song on my purple rod for little baby Lyra, who's going to, when she grows up, listen to all of these, because you're going to make a compilation tape for her.
Apparently so.
Rob, would you like to request a tune?
Let's do that.
A Christmas one still, even because just to fit in with the spirit of.
Well,
stuff.
Alex, I think, obviously we are still within the 12 days of Christmas, but I'm thinking, it's a new year, it's 2020. How about we have Auld Lang Syne?
Well, it's a bit long.
Right. So
can I start off?
Silent Night.
Okay, Silent Night. Okay, sorry. Let me start again.
Okay.
Sorry, look, I'm going to be honest.
Sorry.
Bob. I'm going to be honest. I need to take my purple rod in to be serviced.
Can I just check? Did you hear what the request was? Because that wasn't very close to what I'd asked for.
Rob, it was. It's just the notes weren't coming out right because the recording was servicing.
So, Alex, by your rationale,
I think when you listen to it back, it went da 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 da. You will hear that, but the notes weren't right because the recorder needs servicing. Right? Who's the listener story?
What were you just singing? Because that wasn't Silent Night.
Silent Night. I'm speeding it up for you. Look, Rob.
Right.
Shut up and tell us the listener story.
Right. So, following on from an email before, this is from Claire in New Orleans. The story is from the Wales Online.
Hey.
It is from the 20th of December by Jason Evans.
Can I just ask, because Claire, she's listened to a lot of episodes, you'll know, Claire, that we used to get submissions from stories on the Wales Online from Craig, who was a good friend of the podcast. And again, Craig, if you're still listening, you might not be. You might have decided, no, it's not for me, or you might have moved somewhere else. Who knows? But if you are listening, just let us know you're still out there. We'd appreciate it. Just a one-word email. Like, you could just write us an email with the word meat in the subject heading, and we'll know you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also... At this time of year, I like to take an hour or two and sit back and just reflect on the listeners who have tapped in and tapped out over the last 9 years.
Who is the guy? Parker in Virginia.
Yep.
Does he still listen? I mean, he still might listen. I don't know. He just might have got sick of us asking about it. But anybody else?
There was a guy right at the beginning. There was Rich who we sent the pound to. Claire, you're going to enjoy that when you get to episode 2, maybe. I can't fucking remember.
What about Nicola?
Nicola in Norwich, yeah. We haven't heard from her in a long time. Nicola, we hope you're well. We haven't heard from you.
We still remember all of these people who used to contact us. Yeah. There were more, but there
were loads. There were loads. I mean,
but they might be listening, Rob. But do you write to the people? Do I ever write to the people whose podcasts I listen to? No, they don't know I listen. Maybe people want to remain anonymous. Rob, respect the listener's privacy.
Yeah, sorry, you're right, Alex. Yeah,
stop hounding them.
I was thinking about giving out personal details just to try and blackmail them, but that's not going to help anyone. Right, anyway, look, back to the story. So it's by Jason Evans, who apparently is the court and crime reporter, probably amongst the other things. And the headline. Now, Alex, there's a lot in this headline. Man threw his own faeces at stepfather before smashing victim's Audi TT with spanner.
Yes. Throwing faeces is always... was it stepfather? which makes it even better.
So his stepfather. Yeah, his stepfather. Yeah.
Well, we've all done it, Rob. I mean...
Yeah. We have, Alex, we have. A man threw a handful of poo at his stepfather before arming himself with a foot-long spanner, destroying his sports car, court has heard.
Now, hang on, his own sports car or the stepfather's sports car?
I think the stepfather's sports car.
Because I would find it almost more amusing if he'd thrown feces at the stepfather and smashed up his own car.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's right. Let me just read that back. And destroyed his sports car. Yeah, it's quite badly written actually because it doesn't imply whether it's his sports car or the stepfather's sports car.
I think the body of the article will clear it up.
Yeah. So James Pakovitz repeatedly struck the Audi TT with a spanner whilst it was parked in the street, causing so much damage the vehicle had to be written off.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's a shame as well because that was probably the first Audi ever to enter into the borders of Wales.
You're right, Alex. Yeah. I imagine that he would have literally had to push away the spectators who were just drawing all over the car of this space age vehicle.
I mean, cars are a rarity anyway. They would have just seen this large sort of metal beast. They would have been, what is this metal? What is this gilded beast roaming our land? Is it?
I imagine
is it one of the gods angry with us?
Possibly,
pagan
possibly.
ways.
I just imagine that him going at the Audi TT with the spanner is a lot like the opening season of 2001.
And then he threw the spanner up into the air and we get a wonderful time jump to a space station many, many years in the future. Yes, possibly, Rob. Yeah.
So his advocate said the defendant realised he had a number of demons in his life, just come to that conclusion after throwing his feces at his stepfather, smashed him a TT.
Not one, Rob, but a number. Yeah.
You're right. Which he knew he had to address before he moved on. So
it's
last
sad,
year,
though,
former RAF serviceman.
Can we just stop, Rob? Because we are aware this is obviously somebody in mental distress. I mean, it's the details that are funny, but it's not nice for anybody to have to go through that kind of to lose it to that degree. But
no, well, we're not making. I mean, obviously, just to say, obviously, he was an RAF serviceman. He was handed a suspended sentence for dangerous driving after deliberately crashing his car into an electricity pole after taking cocaine. So he's obviously in a bad place. So, some detail. So, Tom Scappens, prosecutor, said on December the 2nd this year, there was an incident outside the house which saw the defendant throw a handful of his own feces at his stepfather's head and then started to goad him into having a fight.
Now, hang on. Where did he get the feces from? Was he just carrying it around on the off chance that a fight might ensue? Or did he just literally just shit in his hand and then throw it? Do you see what I mean? Where does this feces come from? Does he storm into the house and do a shit in the latrine and then pick it out the latrine and carry it back out? Where does the feces come from? Is it his own feces? Does it say if it's his or somebody else's?
It does beg. I mean, there is more detail needed. Does he literally just turn up at the doorstep with feces in his hand? And he just rang the doorbell, and then just
also was it solid? Was it runny?
Yeah, it's this kind of detail. Apparently, the victim retreated into the Core Road house and took a shower, and the court heard.
Hang on a minute.
Possible mental health implications.
Sorry. So the guy knocks on the door of his stepfather, throws shit at him. The guy goes in the house, closes the door, and first instinct is, I'm going to take a shower. And as he's taking a shower, he reflects that the mental health of his stepson might not be the best. Is that where we are so far?
He was concerned about the health implications of the feces. Having feces thrown at him because apparently his son had tested positive for COVID.
His stepson.
So he was.
His stepson threw COVID-riven shit at his face. He jumped into the shower, got the Radox out, because I think Radox do a special cleanse for if you've had COVID-infected shit anywhere on you, don't they? I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. But,
that's right.
It's called a COVID shit scrub.
Yeah, that's it. It's not been the most popular selling brand, but
I'm surprised
it is out there if you need it. Yeah. So meanwhile, the 28-year-old defendant went into the street and punched the wing mirror of his stepfather's Audi TT before leaving. It later emerged he'd also smeared feces on the kitchen window of the property.
Do we know what the dispute was about? Don't tell me it doesn't tell us. There must be some reason. Why was he angry with the stepfather? Anyway, keep reading. Maybe we'll get there.
About his actions. Yeah, I'm just trying to scan. It's whilst I'm trying to read the article and see if it actually says.
Well, let's see if we get there.
Okay, right. So the defendant was released on bail on condition that he lived with his father in Clydach, I think, in Wales, and did not return to his mother's house in Pontydwdali, somewhere in Wales, a condition he ignored on numerous occasions. The court heard on December the 10th he was again at his mother's house in breach of the bail, and this time he was armed with a large spanner. After moving the CCTV cameras, which were located on the outside of the property, he attacked his father's Audi TT with a weapon.
No, stepfathers.
Oh, yeah, stepfather's TT, yeah.
Yes.
Repeatedly striking the windscreen, roof and doors with a large amount of force. The total cost of the damage done to the car was more than £6,000. So...
I'm sorry, could the stepfather not hear his Audi TT being smashed up inside, or was he still having a Radox?
Yeah, I think what happened was he'd seen the car being smashed up, and he thought, well, he's going to be there for some time. I may as well have a bath and just enjoy myself, and then I'll call the police. Because Alex, whenever I've called the police, I like to make sure that I've at least had a shower beforehand.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Before you call the filth, you want to make sure you're clean. That's a good slogan. Actually, yeah. Do you know what the police should use us? Like to say, before you call us, you better make sure that you're unhassling. They should say, before you call the filth, make sure you're clean. There you go.
Yeah. Alex, I think the story does go on, but I think that the gist of it is, obviously, I think this guy had basically struggled to adjust to civilian life after returning from the RAF. Yeah.
There's a reason.
Very sad story, but with comedy details.
Hang on a minute. Former RAF serviceman who smashed up the sports car, his advocate called it an outpouring of emotion. That's what caused him to throw what they describe as a handful of poo at his stepfather. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, that we don't have the sorry, COVID positive man throws poop at stepfather. Just 1 minute. Just let me see if it's here. Right. So I've got some more information, Rob.
Okay.
Apparently, he was arrested on the day of the attack and was interviewed and made admissions in the interview about his actions, describing his victim as, in quotes, a snake. So, obviously, there was some. But he claimed he could not remember everything that had happened because he'd smoked a lot of cannabis at the time.
Oh, so he may not have been,
to be honest,
in his right mind.
I'm going to say this sounds like a psychotic episode, and cannabis can trigger psychosis in some people. So let's just put it down to one of those things. Everybody, tidy up everything, and let's all have a nice Radox bath. Not necessarily together, but with their COVID shit scrub.
That's a good question, actually. Can you get COVID from faeces? I mean, it's not something I've ever really considered.
Send me some of yours through in the post. I shall smear it over myself, and I'll let you know.
Yep, sounds perfectly normal to me.
On that very pleasant note, Rob, we bring this episode of LAPodcast, the regular LAPodcast, LA 352, to a close, Rob, as we look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet trepidation, to our next episode, which will be episode 353, as we move ever more forward. Can we stop doing that, Rob? Can we stop doing it? I can't bear it anymore. I think at the end of an episode.
Like a man approaching his stepfather's doorstep, armed with a large spanner, with the intention of smashing up his, state-of-the-art, if we're on Wales, car.
What about the poo? You forgot the poo.
Well, these are two separate incidents, Alex. The first one was the poo, and then he returned with the spanner. So,
right. So as a man waves his shit-stained spanner at his stepfather, just like that, we move forward to our next episode, which will be episode 353. Rob, look, we can be found on our website, which is lapodcast.net. From there you can download all of our episodes for free, apart from the Patreon ones. They are subscriber only. They are on patreon.com/LApodcast extra, as always. We are on Twitter at LAPodcast. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/LAPodcast. And we can be found on Spotify and all your, obviously, podcast apps, everything like that. And wherever you find us, please hit subscribe. Please leave us a review. A week after this episode, there's going to be our Patreon episode of the first of the new year, Rob.
Yep.
So anybody who wants to listen to that, we would love to have you over on Patreon. Come and join us. Patreon.com/LAPodcast Extra. That's Patreon.com/LAPodcast Extra. We'd love you to join us. And look, we just hope that everybody listening, that we all really, Rob, have a better 2022. 2021 has been pretty miserable all round.
Yeah.
So have a better 2022. See how it goes and keep listening to LA Podcast. God bless.
And keep it local.